when LeBron left Cleveland the first time, it felt like a grenade exploding, sending shrapnel all across the league. When he moved back to Cleveland from Miami, it felt like a firework. Last night's move to the Lakers was different. On the one hand, it was so low on megawatt dazzle, the Blaze could barely light a match, and not just because the announcement came in the form of a simple one-sentence press release.
Run-on sentence.
LeBron joining the Lakers doesn't shift who the favorite is for next year's title. Doesn't even shift the seats of power in the Western Conference. There was no shock value either, really. By last week, if you didn't know that LeBron was almost certainly heading to LA, you simply were not paying attention. And yet, here's the thing about a lit match. It might not provide much illumination on its own, but boy, the possibilities of what it can ignite are endless. And really, that's what LeBron is banking on by coming to LA. There are the possibilities on the court, the faith he's showing in Magic Johnson to turn this team into a championship contender. Even though LA couldn't get a meeting with Paul George this summer, even though as of now there's been no trade for Kawhi. LeBron has agreed to a 4-year deal with the Lakers. That's more runway than he ever gave Dan Gilbert and the Cavaliers in his second run there, and it's a remarkable statement from a man who basically pioneered his generation's practice of picking freedom over security. There are also the possibilities off the court for LeBron here. He's banking on this choice making his family happy, and that his teenage son, already a basketball prodigy, will flourish. I mean, the school LeBron Jr. will likely play for out here has a team that already features Scottie Pippen Jr. and Kenyon Martin Jr.
All the juniors.
Pretty nice. There's also the idea of simply playing for the Lakers, one of the most glory-soaked franchises in all of sports, and the possibility of making his mark among the greats who've played here. Of course, with any decision that's about potential, there are also risks. What if the roster choices the Lakers make in the coming years don't amount to much? It's hard not to raise your eyebrows when the first thing a franchise does upon getting LeBron is go out and get Lance Stephenson and JaVale McGee.
I love it.
And what if it all sounds good in July? Yep, there you go, Lance. What if it all sounds good in July, but in February, the Lakers barely have a winning record, and LeBron is making, I don't know, his third 4-hour plane ride of the week with a bunch of kids making diss tracks about each other? Or what if all those Laker banners in the rafters start casting too many shadows? We all saw Joel Embiid's subtweet of LeBron from over the weekend that, quote, the Lakers are forever going to be Kobe and Magic's team.
Is that what that was about?
LeBron is turning 34 later this year. By signing this deal, he is basically staking the final chapters of his legacy to this move. And maybe it doesn't work. Maybe it all goes down in flames. But it's important to note, it's LeBron who is lighting the match. There will be a time, and it's coming sooner rather than later, that he won't be the best player in the league anymore. If he had stayed in Cleveland, that time most likely would have come gradually and on someone else's terms. Instead, it's LeBron who is willingly deciding to change his circumstance. In all likelihood, ending his run of 8 straight finals appearances, he's picking what's interesting to him over whatever super team might have been more interesting to everyone else. And now we get to follow along and see what comes out of all these flames. Joining us now, look, you guys have covered us probably, you have covered LeBron more than anyone on earth. You've covered LeBron with the width and breadth of anyone. Lee Jenkins from Sports Illustrated. I mean, I don't know what to say about you.
Good looking.
You helped write the letter that appeared in Sports Illustrated with his last free agency decision. What was different about this one?
No hyphens in this one. I mean, obviously he wanted understatement, right? I mean, everything with him is going to be a circus. Everything is going to be grand. They were trying to make it seemed like, at least from afar, as under the radar as they could. But Rachel, I mean, this is less about sentiment, right? When he went back to Cleveland, it was all about sentiment. To me, when I look at this, I think this is a long play. This is looking ahead to a time, as you said, when he's not the big draw, and he's going to need a team that is going to help him draw players. And a chance to maybe not vault the Warriors next year, but looking ahead to establish that super team. I don't know if it's with Kawhi Leonard. I don't know who it's going to be with. But I think when you look ahead, it's hard to imagine the Lakers with cap space, with assets, and with LeBron James not being able to put something powerful around him.
All right, we're going to move forward into all that in a minute, and I wanted these guys to chime in. But, Brian, the story you had with Lee in your book from the last time, can you help Lee tell that story?
Lee was so paranoid after doing the interview with LeBron that
for the letter that appeared in Sports Illustrated when he went back to Cleveland.
He did the interview first, and then he had to help write the letter. And Lee thought he was like in a James Bond movie, and he's going through the hotel in Vegas, and he thinks that like people are sending spies.
They're in Vegas because this was summer league, right? I mean, this was his summer
I can't
camp.
believe, this was just for the book. This wasn't for TV.
It's public now. Go ahead, keep going.
And a woman came up and propositioned Lee.
Well, that always happened. I thought it was a Miami Herald reporter.
And he turned the woman down because he's an upstanding individual, but also because he thought, oh my God, what if they're sent to infiltrate, and they're going to steal my laptop?
She wanted the laptop.
Steal my notes and steal my tape recorder and sell it to ESPN for the highest bidder. Mm-hmm. So it was a little more simple this time with the one sentence.
The Miami Herald will go to extreme lengths.
It's literally my favorite story ever in journalism, I think. Absolutely. When you now have a day to digest LeBron's decision, what do you think of it?
Well, I mean, you kind of hit all the high notes in the monologue when you talk about 4-year deal, so that there's not a pressure on Magic and Rob Pelinka to get something done now, because if we don't, he'll leave at the end of the year. It gives him a leeway and a breathing room to do this the right way. And also the understanding, like we've all talked about, he knows this is the first time in 8 years, or 10 years, excuse me, because those last 2 years in Cleveland, they were expected to at least make the finals every year, right? His team. It's the first time where that pressure is not going to be on. And so the irony, Lee, I told these guys yesterday on a podcast, 8 years ago, he changed how free agency was by saying we're going to control where we go and we're going to control how it's announced, right? And then 4 years ago, he changed free agency again when he said security isn't in a long-term deal. Security is in flexibility to do whatever I want in a year or 2 years or what have you. And then this year, he did the opposite. He did the conventional thing. I'm going to go somewhere we have a chance to grow, and I'm going to go somewhere with long-term security, which 10 years ago was what free agents did, but because of what he's done over the last 10 years, it now sounds crazy and diabolical and outlandish.